Hello everybody and welcome to the channel, Out of Ammo, Out of Time. I'm your host as always, Krabby Terror 8, and here we are in episode 3 of the season 2 of the Investigator Games with Skids O'Toole. And Skids O'Toole will be going through the Midnight Masks today, and we will see how he goes. Before we start, for those of you new to the channel, the Investigator Games are like the Hunger Games in a way. We take each investigator and we put them through a scenario, in this case the Midnight Masks, and we see how they go. And then based on their performance, we put them into a league table like this one. This also includes the gathering on here, so we can see that we've already accrued a bunch of points. So what I would say is if you haven't watched any previous episodes, I would probably recommend you go back and look at the gathering series before this so you can see how the investigators went there, because what we're doing is we're adding to their points here. So far we can see in terms of the victory points gained that we've had Daisy Walker, Roland Banks. Roland did pretty good in the Midnight Masks. Daisy, not so good, I'm afraid. And while she improved her standing a little bit in the table, wasn't by very much. So hopefully Skids will do a little bit better this time. So, yeah, the other thing is if you're new to Arkham Horror, the card game, you haven't played the Midnight Masks before, I would recommend you go and do that first. I'm assuming that you have played Midnight Masks a little bit. So if you haven't, please go ahead and do that first. Now, I had a little chat to Skids in the trailer. As you know, he's just there. We can just see him just there on the screen, standing at the house. It's obviously 4 o'clock in the morning here in Arkham. It's the only time we're allowed. The council allows us to do the Investigator Games before the peak hour traffic hits in 2 or 3 hours time, so it's fairly cold, but we had a chat in the trailer, Skids and I, and thank you Miskatonic Trailers for actually providing the trailer again, and actually thank you for the free trailer rental last week for stuffing up in the first week, so I do appreciate that. That's very proactive of them. So I would say if you do need a trailer and you're in the Arkham area, I would recommend, or Miskatonic area or New England, whatever it might be, and you need some trailer hire, then Miskatonic Trailer Hire is definitely recommended. Now we sat round a heater and we had a glass of bootleg Canadian Scotch and a couple of Cuban cigars as we chatted over things, which actually, come to think of it, would have made a lot of sense if we were actually in 1929, but we're not. We're in 2019, so bootleg Canadian Scotch doesn't quite have the same ring to it. And indeed, Cuban cigars, well, the Investigator Games doesn't happen in America. It's in another location entirely and is not subject to local laws, so there's no issue having Cuban cigars either. So from that perspective, it didn't really quite have the same edge that it might have had back in the day. But anyway, we chatted about things. Skids is certainly hoping that he does well this time, better than he did in the gathering. Not that he did terrible in the gathering, but he only managed 5 points in that particular case, so he's hoping he'll do better this time. And we also had a chat about a couple of other things. So this sort of mini controversy that's going on at the moment about whether Joe Diamond and Roland Banks are actually the same person. So Skids actually told me something that I wasn't aware of, but him and Finn Edwards are actually really good friends, and I didn't know this, but actually they, just for laughs, just for shits and giggles, I suppose, they sometimes pretend to be the other. So what I didn't realize is if you're playing Finn Edwards, you might actually be playing, it might actually be Skids in disguise, pretending to be Finn Edwards, and you wouldn't actually know. And apparently they do this all the time when people are playing Arkham Horror, the card game. I think it's hilarious. And also, you know, it just provides a bit of interest and variety, of course. So perhaps Joe and Roland are doing the same thing. Perhaps when you're playing Joe, it's actually Roland Banks in disguise, pretending to be a Seeker, or vice versa. It's very strange. I never thought of that. Anyway, there you go. And yeah, they are good friends, Skids and Finn. Actually, if you'd been at the, it's fantastic. If you'd been at the party, the pre-season party, they did a karaoke number as well. Sunday Bloody Sunday. So they did the U2 classic Sunday Bloody Sunday. Really fantastic. They did a really good job. Skids took the role of Bono, and Finn did a very passable Edge. So they that's what they did. So yes, they are good friends, and apparently they do play each other's roles from time to time. So there you go. Anyway, on to more serious things. So before we kick off with Skids, a couple of things. We'll just revisit who he is. For my help, as much as anything. I mean, there's 26 of these, 27 of these. I don't know how many investigators there are now, and it's sometimes hard to remember who does what. So here we go. Skids, he's pretty well-rounded. He's not so great on willpower, so we've got to be really careful of those things like the crit chills and those willpower tests, because that's probably where he's the weakest. But he's got pretty reasonable fight and intellect, and of course his evasion is very strong, so he's good at avoiding things. And in the Midnight Masks, really, you only want to be fighting things if you're going to get something for it, because it just takes time. So actually, evasion is a really good option, because you can just get on with doing things instead of wasting time fighting things that are of no consequence. You can also spend resources to take an additional turn. You can only do that once a turn, but that gives him an extra turn. So if you've got Leo DeLuca on board, you can potentially do 5. If you've got enough resources, of course, you can get through 5 turns. So that is a real advantage in the Midnight Masks. So I think Skids is right to be confident if we can get Leo DeLuca on board. And his Elder Sign effect is he gets +2 and gets 2 resources. So there we go. Now, he did have 5 experience points from the Gathering. So he has upgraded his deck. Now, there's always some, sort of controversy, I suppose might be the word, about what you might do to upgrade the deck. The first point to make is that the Fantasy Flight starter decks are never ideal, and Skids was no exception here. He only had 1 Leo DeLuca in the deck. He only had 1 machete. He had 1 of everything except for things like flashlights and knives. So what we've done here is a couple of things with his 5 XP. The first thing is that I actually spent 1 of the XP, Skids did, on another Leo DeLuca. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Having 2 Leo DeLucas in your hand is absolutely something that you want. And then what we did then is we spent 3 on Streetwise, because Streetwise permanent just boosts intellect and agility, so it never goes astray. And the other thing that we spent was Adaptable, because once we have Adaptable, we could swap up to 2 level 0 cards for an equal number of level 0 cards. And so what we used that for was an extra machete, and we also used it to get ourselves an extra elusive. And I think we swapped out physical training, I think, and a knife, something like that. So we've lost both of our knives, because it felt like, I mean, we've now got 2 machetes, we've got a 45, we've got a switchblade, we've got a derringer, we've got dynamite. So it seemed like the best thing to do. Midnight Masks, while there is some combat, it felt like getting another elusive could actually be really helpful, because, getting around the table is actually really important. So that's what we decided. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, whether you think I should have chosen other things. I mean, yes, I could have chosen another Vicious Blow, or another 45, or another, there's various things I could have included, or maybe some other standard rogue cards. I'm out of here, or something like that. But that's what I chose to build the deck with the XP that he had. So there we go. Everything else is the same. Our weakness, just to remind everyone, which was drawn last time, is drawing the sign. Basically, this reduces your maximum hand size is reduced by 5. So you want to get rid of that because it really limits. Because essentially you're down to 3 cards then if you've got to reduce it by 5. Yep. So not the world's worst. Not the world's worst one, but what you don't want to have happen is to draw a card on your 3rd turn, and then find that you've got 8 cards in hand, and you've got to chuck a whole bunch out. So the only thing to be mindful of is if I am going to be drawing cards, I want to be drawing them, and it's an action I'm using to draw the cards. I really want to be drawing them on the turn 1 because I don't want to be caught with this and then lose a bunch of cards. So let's close and shuffle the deck. There we go, and we're all ready to go here in Octagon. I'll just switch over to turn 1. We'll just move it through. I should also say that I actually seriously considered moving over to Tabletop Simulator and doing this in Tabletop Simulator. I've seen a lot of people playing through the League of Extraordinary Investigators on Tabletop Simulator, and there's lots of advantages to using particularly setting up. It's much easier, but I have to say the swapping back and forth between your hand and the layout I found very, very distracting, and I really, when I tested it out, I found it very difficult to do and keep track of things like the Doom. So for me, I'm going to stick with Octagon because I find it much, much easier to manage myself than I do in Tabletop Simulator. And that's just me. That's just my personality. So I think we're ready to roll. I think we just need to... we're all set up here at our house with our 3 actions and the 1 clue. So I think all that remains is to read out the act and the agenda deck, and then we can draw our hand, and then we're ready to go. Okay, let's get going. Let's just read out the agenda and the act deck. Predator or prey? Lita seems convinced of a conspiracy within the city of Arkham. She believes that a secret cult serves the ghouls that live in the crypts beneath the city, and that several of the cult's prominent members are scattered throughout Arkham. As you begin searching for them, you can't shake the feeling that you too are being hunted, and we can resign if we want, which I don't think we should do just yet. Uncovering the conspiracy. You have 1 night to find the members of this cult and unveil their plan. The more members of the cult you can find and interrogate before midnight, the better. The investigators can spend 2 clues per investigator as a group. Draw the top card of the cultist deck. Find as many unique cultist enemies as you can and add them to the victory display. If there are 6 unique cultist enemies in the victory display, advanced. Note, not all 6 of them are in the cultist deck. Now, just so you know, the cultist deck is here. I'll just put it out. Here's the cultist deck. I will shuffle up the cultist deck. The Ghoul Priest is not in the encounter deck because the Ghoul Priest was defeated by Skids, and Leader Chandler is not in our deck, of course, because we didn't bring Leader Chandler on board. The other thing is I have randomly chosen South Side, and I think it's downtown, so I've done all of that, set that all up, ready to go as well, so we don't need to do that. So I think we're all ready to go. So all we need to do now is we'll just shuffle this up again. We will draw our opening hand. Now, what do we want? What do we want? What do we want? This is my favorite bit. Well, I think the most obvious thing we want is Leo. We've now got 2 Leo DeLucas in the deck. So we really want to have Leo DeLuca because, for obvious reasons, we then have 4 turns and that will make a significant difference. So I'll be pretty disappointed if we don't get Leo. I also wouldn't mind a machete in the opening hand as well, because machete is such a great weapon to have. As long as we don't have multiple enemies on us, it's fantastic. So if we can get machete and Leo DeLuca in the opening hand, I'll be pretty happy about that. It might be good to have the flashlight because getting clues as quickly as possible is important. So the faster we can do that. And then the other thing, which is great for Skids, is emergency cash would also be really, really helpful because we can use the resources, I mean, not only to bring out cards, but obviously to spend to have extra turns. So if that's also the case, then that would be very, very handy as well. So let's see what we get. So let's draw our 5 cards, and we get Hard Knocks. I mean, can be useful, but we get pickpocketing. It's all right. Yeah, I mean, pickpocketing is okay. What else do we get? Ah, there he is. Oh my goodness, that's always a thing. We got Leo DeLuca. Phew. Now, emergency cash would be awesome if we can also get that. So we also get elusive, which good card. I'm happy to get elusive. And finally, we get opportunist, which is a nice card to have. Yeah. So obviously we are going to definitely keep Leo, and I definitely want to keep elusive. Am I so wedded to these 3 because I wouldn't mind a machete and I wouldn't mind emergency cash? You see, this Hard Knocks is not that helpful because, well, no, actually the fight thing might be helpful, actually, to be honest. The other thing about Hard Knocks is to use Streetwise, you need 2 resources, where, of course, with Hard Knocks, you only need 1. But I'm thinking I might throw these in. Do I keep pickpocketing? Because pickpocketing is a pretty handy card because it allows you to draw. No, I really want to maximize. So let's draw another 3. We get Beat Cop. Well, we won't be bringing him out anytime soon. We get emergency cash. There we go. And finally, we get the guard dog. So lots of allies. Well, we won't be using all those. So we will put these back in. We'll shuffle them up. And there we go. There's our hand. So unfortunately, we don't have... maybe for next time, having charisma might be a thing for Skids. Particularly with the Devourer below having multiple allies, but we might be using these for the fight pips as things go. So there we go. So we are all ready to roll. Squids is ready to roll, and so Skids. We are here at our house. Crowd goes wild. Skids waves to the crowd. And we can get going. So what are we going to do? I think, well, the first action, I think, is a pretty obvious action. We will actually use emergency cash. We will play emergency cash, and we will add 3 resources. So we're now up to 8 resources. And that's our first action. A second action is to spend 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and bring out Leo DeLuca, which immediately gives us an extra action. So we now have 2 actions left. So we brought out Leo DeLuca. We obviously can't play either of these, and we don't want to play elusive yet. So I think we go ahead and investigate. Oh, we do this, draw a card and gain a resource. Now, but I've only got 4, so it wouldn't be the end of the world. I was going to say we're taking a bit of a risk if we draw a card now and gain a resource because we might get drawing the sign. However, if we lost the Beat Cop or the guard dog, it's not a big deal. So I might do that. So for my next, maybe first we'll investigate because we might fail and we might want to investigate again because I do want to get this clue. So the first thing we're going to do is investigate. So it's a shroud of 2 and we are a 3. And now we could spend 2 resources to make it a 6. That feels like a bit of overkill, so I might just go 2 versus 3 and see how we go. 2 versus 3. Chaos bag gives us a -4, so we fail. Let's do it again. 2 versus 3. Chaos Bag gives us a skull, which I think we pass. Yep, so we get the clue. Okay, there we go. All right, so there's our first turn. So that was pretty good, apart from the one failure, but that was pretty good. So we started. We used our emergency cash. So we got up to 8 resources. We then spent 6 of them to bring out Leo DeLuca. So that was 2 of our turns, which left us with 2 more turns. We then tried to investigate for the clue and failed, and then we tried again and passed. So we've got the clue. So we just, next turn, we'll obviously move to good old Rivertown, get the clue from Rivertown, and bring out the first cultist, because this particular scenario is notorious for running you out of time very fast. So the quicker we really need to get the cultists out as quickly as possible. So there we go. There's the end of our first turn. So we move into the... that was the investigation phase. So we move into the enemy phase, or the enema phase, as I like to call it. There's no enemies to speak of. So we move into the upkeep phase and we get burglary. Yeah, it can be quite a nice card to for resource gain management. So we might think about, although the problem with this card in the Miskatonic is just using the time. So exhaust, burglary, investigate, you know, you gain 3 resources. Well, that sounds great, but the problem with that is that we've really got to be very mindful about the fact that we need to move as quickly as we can through this. So, I mean, gaining resources, I guess, you know, allows us to use this, but it's sort of self-defeating if we're using things to investigate and then we use, yeah. So, I don't know. I'm just not sure that we're going to be using it that much. But anyway, we shall see. So that's the end of the upkeep phase. We move into the turn 2. The Mythos phase. The first Doom is down on the table, and it's now time for the moment we all love and adore. And we'll have a look at what the encounter deck has to say. And the encounter deck is going to give us a Hunting Night Gaunt right off the bat. There we go. Oh, this guy is such a pain. So we don't have any weapons at the moment. I realised we didn't draw any weapons. So actually, fighting this guy is going to be a real problem because he's got 4 health. So I think the best thing to do is going to be evading him. Yeah, so there we go. Okay, so that's the end of the Mythos phase. So we move into the investigation phase. So here we are with the Hunting Night Gaunt on us. And I think the thing that we want to do here is 4 actions onto Skids. So fighting him, I mean, we could, but it's going to take us the whole turn just to try and fight him, assuming we succeed every single time. So that's just not worth it. So we've just got to live with this double the negative modifier. Now he's a 1 and we're already a 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just try and see whether we can evade him. I mean, we could spend 2 resources to make ourselves a 7 versus a 1, but I don't want to be throwing away resources unnecessarily. So let's just see whether we can evade him straight up. So we're a 1 versus a 4. Chaos Bag. So first one is evasion. We're going to evade him. Chaos Bag gives us a 0, so he is evaded. Oh, hello. Disappeared. So there we go. So we evaded the Hunting Night Gaunt. Fantastic. So that's our first action. Our second action is to skip over to Rivertown. Not the Chaos Bag. What am I doing? I'm going to flip. And there's one clue on here. With a 1 shroud. So, so we evaded first action, moved second action. Third action, we will investigate Rivertown. So that's our third action. So it's a 1 versus a 3. I think that's 1 versus 3. -2 or better. Do we make it a 1 versus a 4? I think we're right. We'll just see what the Chaos Bag has for a 0. So we succeed. And so for our final action, we will spend the 2 clues. And we will have a look at what cultist comes out. So we will go to the cultist deck. We'll shuffle up the cultist deck again. And we'll pull out the first one. And it is Ruth Turner at St. Mary's Hospital. And we just got to evade her, which is something we should be able to do relatively easily. So that's where we will head off next. Fantastic. So we'll put Ruth Turner at St. Mary's Hospital. And we'll go and hopefully we can do that relatively quickly, because we can move, evade, done. So that's what our next go will be. And we could just have to stay 1 step ahead of the Hunting Night Gaunt. Okay, that's the end of the investigation phase. So I think very successful all round. We managed to evade the Hunting Night Gaunt, moved to Rivertown, got the clue, and then we brought out the first cultist. So there we go. All right, so we move into the enemy phase. Well, the enemy's exhausted, so he's not going to do anything. Move into the upkeep phase. Oh, he's back on deck, and we draw on the Lamb. Until the end of the round, non-elite enemies cannot attack you. Yeah, that can be useful sometimes, but the pips on this are just brilliant. Like, yeah, really, really good. So, yeah. Okay. So we will move into the second Mythos phase. 2 Doom, 4 to go. And we will see what the lovely encounter deck has for us this time. And I've just realized why I should have brought out burglary. And you're probably all screaming at me saying you should have brought out burglary, dude, because if we get a trip chill now, we could lose Leo DeLuca, and then we will be then heading off to Southside to try and get another Leo DeLuca. I've just realized, you just watch now, we'll get Crypt Chill. Encounter deck gives me, no, it doesn't give me that. In fact, it's fine. False lead, oh well, no, if there are no clues, false lead gains Surge. Okay, so Surge is in the house, and we get Mysterious Chanting. Put Doom on the nearest cultist enemy. Pretty sure she's a cultist. She is, so put 2 Doom on her. There we go. That's fine. Yeah. So there we go. So, we better bring out something, because I don't want to lose Leo DeLuca. So, I mean, you know, I guess it wouldn't be the end of the world and we could bring out something else, but really, we don't want to lose Leo DeLuca. So let's get burglary down on the table. Even if we never use it, at least we can use it to ensure that we lose it instead of if we get crypt chilled. Okay, so that's the end of the Mythos phase. So we move into the investigation phase. Let's just review where we're at. So what we were talking about was moving into the hospital, and getting Ruth. That still feels like the best thing to do, because we need to get rid of those 2 Doom as well. So it's kind of a no-brainer that we get that done and dusted as soon as possible. So we'll put 4 actions onto Skids. 4 actions onto Skids. So the first action, we will move... normally I would move to Southside. Yeah, move to Southside so we can uncover that. So we flip that. Which one do we get? Mars Boarding House or the other one? We get the Historical Society. So that allows us to draw 3 cards, which is rather nice, and there's a clue on there. Now, I might actually have taken a go to draw the 3 cards. The problem is, though, that I can't. I need to get rid of Ruth, because we can't afford to be messing around, so we need another turn. And then we evade Ruth, and then we bring out the burglary. So whilst drawing another card is a nice thing to do, we can always go back and do that later if we want. And also with the clues. So the next action, or do we risk... do we do the 3 cards now? So if we do the 3, because we can always spend for an extra turn. I've just realized we can always spend for an extra turn. If we get drawing the sign though, then we will waste a turn. Let's say we do get drawing the sign. Then 3, we'll still be okay. We'll still be okay. It won't flip next go, assuming we don't get Ancient Evils. I don't think is Ancient Evils in this one. I can't remember. So yeah, worst case. So it would be nice to have more cards. So I've actually changed my... and then there's the clue one here as well, isn't there? Yes. Well, for my second action, I'm going to draw 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. There we go. I'm going to do that. Nice lot of cards now. For my third action, I'm going to move to St. Mary's Hospital. And there's a clue on there. And then for my fourth action, I'm going to evade Ruth Turner. So she is a evasion of 5, and we are a 4. Okay. So what do we do here? So we can I might commit something here. So I might commit Hard Knocks. So that gives us a 5 versus a 5. And then I might spend 2. And then, there we go. So that gives us 8. So that's 4, 5, 8. 8 versus 5. So that puts us 3 up. That's pretty good. Let's see how we go with the Chaos Bag. Chaos Bag gives us a 0. So she's evaded. So she goes into the victory display. We can get rid of the Doom now. Crowd goes wild. First victory display. We'll put a victory point on her. So that's brilliant. That's really, really good. And for our final action, I'm going to, I can't do it. I just realized, because I've got to spend 2 resources to take an additional action. So if we spend the 2 resources, we won't be able to do that. So I might just leave it there and hope we don't get a Crypt Chill. If we get a Crypt Chill, we probably, because that's a 4, isn't it? And we are a 2, 4. We can make it a 4 versus a 4 at the very least. Oh dear, that was a bit of a miscalculation on my part, because I just don't have the resources. You know what? If we lose Leo DeLuca, we lose Leo DeLuca. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. So that's the end of our turn. So that was a pretty successful turn. So we moved into Southside. We drew 3 cards. We then moved across to St. Mary's Hospital, and we successfully evaded Ruth Turner. And so she's in the victory display, which is fantastic. So that's all good. All right. So we can now move into the enemy phase. The Hunting Knight Gaunt moves into Rivertown. So just got to be careful about where he ends up. So he's here in Rivertown. Yeah, that's the enemy phase. So we move into the upkeep phase and we get overpower. Plenty of fighting cards, just no weapons. That's what I was hoping when I drew the 3 cards, that I might just draw into a machete or a 45 or even a derringer. But it seems like weapons are not going to be... We've got plenty of ways to fight, just not so many ways to add extra damage, as it were. So that's the end of the upkeep phase. We've got 8 cards, so all fine. So we will move into the Mythos phase. There are now 3 dooms, so we're halfway through the first agenda. Let's see what the encounter deck has for us. And the encounter deck has a acolyte. So we've got to put him in play with a doom on him somewhere. So he goes into an empty location. So we need to get more clues again. So the obvious thing would probably be to pick up this clue, move here, kill the acolyte. But then the problem then is we're going to get whacked by the hunting night gaunt. I think the shroud on Miskatonic University is quite high, so I do want to get these 2 clues. So what I'll do is I'll put him here at south side, put a doom on him. Okay, so I think what we might need to do is get the clue, move, kill it, get the other clue, and then either, so clue, move, kill. Yeah. He's kind of in a central location here, isn't he? I mean, the only way to get away from him would be to go up to here. So maybe he's better here, because then we could do clue, move, move. Yeah, I think I might do that, because otherwise the hunting night gaunt is going to be able to whack us in some way. So I think that's probably the better move. And I think you can pick up extra clues at north side if I'm not much mistaken. So I think I'm going to do that. And then, you know, if we get Wolfman Drew, then we're sort of ready to roll. Although, yeah, that might be the way to go. We've also got to be mindful, of course, that the cultist is going to appear, and we really do, without a weapon, it's going to make it quite difficult to kill him as well. So I'm hoping machete or something turns up sometime soon, or it's going to get increasingly difficult. So I'm going to put him there, because I don't want to end up with the hunting night gaunt on us, if I can possibly help it. So, yep, that's the end of the Mythos phase. So we move into the investigation phase. We put 4 actions onto Skids again. Okay, first thing to do is to pick up this clue here. So it's a 2 and we are a 3. 2 versus a 3. Oh, yes, evidence. Okay, 2 versus a 3. Should we put burglary out? Just so in case we get crypt chill. You know what? I'm not going to worry about that. I don't want to waste time getting burglary out and then just for it to sit there. If I have an extra turn or something, then maybe, but I'm just not going to worry about it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to investigate St. Mary's Hospital. So it's a 2. And we are a 3, so we're -1 or better. I'm actually going to put this in, so that's 2 versus 4. So we're -2 or better. Chaos Bag gives us 0. So we succeed in getting the clue. Fantastic. That's our first action. Our second action is to move to Miskatonic University. Flip that. There are 2 clues here. It's a 4 shroud, so quite difficult for us to gain without the flashlight. So I'm going to leave that. And for my third action, I'm going to move up to North Side. North Side has 2 clues on it as well. Whilst we're here, now that we're here, we're going to fight the old acolyte. So he's a 3 fight. And we are a, what are we? So let me just check. So we started here, we investigated. Yeah, that was 1 action. 2 actions, 3 actions to North Side. The acolyte's onto us. Hello, I'm an acolyte and I'm going to kill you. So so that was 1. Sorry, I'm getting myself in a tizzy here. Let me just take a quick sip of coffee. So we investigated was the first action. We then moved our second action. We then moved again our third action. So our fourth action is to fight the acolyte. So the acolyte is a fight of 3, and we are a fight of 3. So we might as well put in this, which gives us a 5 versus a 3. A 5 versus a 3. Chaos Bag gives us another 0. Is that right? Is that another 0? Draws a 0. Did we get a 0 before? Draws a 0. Yep. So that's successful. So that is successful. We draw a card. Didn't we? Draw a card and we get first aid. The acolyte dies. Great. And we can spend 1. Fast play if you defeat an enemy. So let's spend 1. Discover a clue at your location. So we get a clue. Fantastic. So there we go. Now, very nice. So we could, as a consequence, we could pay 2 and spend 2 to bring out another cultist, but I really don't want to use up my resources because we might just need them for something. I do want to also gain 2 clues from the token pool if possible. So I think our next turn will be getting the victory point for North Side and getting out another cultist. And hopefully we still don't have a weapon. You would think there were no weapons in this deck when there's a ton of them. So we'll see how we go. But overall, that was a pretty good round. We started at St. Mary's Hospital. We found the clue there. We then moved to Miskatonic. Then we moved up to North Side. We killed a cultist, and we gained a clue as a consequence. So all very nice. Okay, so we'll move into the enemy phase. So the Hunting Knight Gaunt moves over to Miskatonic University. And that's fine. So we will move into the upkeep phase. And in the upkeep phase, we get drawing the sign. So that's going to delay us a little bit. Okay, so in terms of the order in the upkeep, it's, yes, indeed, you ready exhausted cards. Each investigator draws a card and gains a resource. And then you check your hand size. So your maximum hand size is reduced by 5. So normally the maximum hand size is 8. So now that means that the maximum hand size is 3. Which means we have to get rid of 3 of these cards, which is a real bugger. So what are we going to get rid of? Well, I mean, they're fight cards, but we can't use these, so these can go away. And probably the other one I would get rid of is first aid. So there we go. There we go. Not a nice card to get, but anyway, we're down to our 3 cards. We'll get rid of it next time, or not. Yeah, see how we go. All right. So we move into the Mythos phase. There are now 4 Doom on the Mythos phase. See what the encounter deck has for us, and the encounter deck has Hunting Shadow. Hunting Shadow, you must either spend a clue or take 2 damage. Well, I think we'll be taking the 2 damage. We will put 1 damage onto Leo, and we'll put 1 damage onto ourselves. Yeah. All right, so we move into the investigation phase. There are 4 actions on Skids. So here we are. We can spend 2 actions. So we just go. So first of all, we'll need to move out of here because otherwise we're going to get monstered by the Hunting Night Gaunt. So yeah. So what do? We want to get this clue. Oh, we've already got 2 clues. Yes, of course, we've already got 2 clues, so we can already do that. But we want to get this clue because we want the victory point. So there's one thing we want to do is get the victory point. That's the first thing. And we at the very least, want to move out, maybe to downtown. And if Wolfman Drew spawns, then so be it. So that's 2 turns. Which means that then we can get rid of this drawing the sign, because I don't want to keep this around. So that's probably the only thing it wouldn't allow us to do is get 2 clues from the token pool. But to do that, we don't have the resources anyway, so we would be hanging around here for a lot longer. So I think the best thing to do is our first action will be to investigate north side. So we are a 3, and indeed north side is a 3. So it's a 3 versus a 3, but we can spend 2 resources, and we can make that a 6. So we are a 6 versus a 3. Chaos Bag gives us a -1, so we succeed. That was the first action, so we get another clue. And that means we get a victory point. So we now have 2 victory points. Fantastic. Our second action is to move. So we will move to North's downtown. And downtown, 3 shroud, 1 clue on downtown. You can gain 3 resources here, which we may very well do. Yeah, so let me think about this. We've got 2 actions left. We could spend an action to get 3 resources. We could then, but then we could waste. Yeah, that's not worth it. So let's take 2 actions to get rid of. Drawing the sign. So I was hoping that we would be able to get another cultist out, but that's not to be this time. So next time we'll look to do that instead. In fact, it would be good to pick up another clue, because then we've got 4 clues, so then we can then start bringing out some more cultists. But we've got to be mindful that in a couple of turns a cultist is going to come out anyway. So there we go. We got rid of our weakness, so which means we can build up our hand again. Enemy phase, the Hunting Night Gaunt moves up. So that was a pretty good round, actually, because we started here. We successfully got the clue and we got the victory point. We then moved over to downtown, and then we got rid of our weakness. So we move into the upkeep phase, and we get the flashlight. So if we can get ourselves back around to Miskatonic University if we need to, or whatever we need to do, then that might be helpful. Although, still no weapon. I really, 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 really want a weapon, because that cultist is going to come out, and if not, it's going to take us forever to kill him. when we do have sneak attack, but it would be really good to get a weapon, and perhaps, yeah, so, okay. So we move into the Mythos phase. There are now 5 dooms, so this will flip next go. We've only got 1 more turn before it does. And the encounter deck gives us, oh god, the Wizard of the Order. Oh, any empty location. At the end of the Mythos phase, place a doom on Wizard of the Order. Well, to be honest, that's not a big deal at the moment, but it will be a big deal after next time. So where would we put him? I don't want him hanging around, so I'm going to place him here. Because we want to get rid of him, we can't have him hanging around, because he will just keep adding doom. And the end of the Mythos phase, in fact, a doom does go on him, and that's that. Okay, so we move into the investigation phase again. There are 4 actions. Okay, so here we are. So we again, we've got the Hunting Knight Gaunt here. We're in downtown, and we need to get rid of this Wizard of the Order. So what we don't want to happen now is we end up with a cultist, and we end up also getting attacked by the Hunting Knight Gaunt all in one turn. So, so we need to put some distance. So the first thing I'm going to do, even though there's a Clo on here, I'm going to move to East Town. So East Town is a 2 shroud, 1 clue location. While you're in East Town, reduce the cost of each ally asset you play by 2. Okay. So the Wizard of the Order is now engaged with us. So so we can, a couple of things we can do. We can either fight him twice. He's a 4 fight, and we are a 3. So actually not great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to evade him. So 2 versus 4. Let's see if we can do that. -2 or better. So I'm going to evade the Wizard of the Order. 2 versus 4. Chaos back gives us an Elder Sign. So we exhaust the Wizard of the Order, which means we gain 2 resources. Fantastic. That's great. And we will, for our third action, we will spend 2, and we will deal 2 damage to an exhausted enemy. So we kill the Wizard of the Order. So that's him gone. Very nice. So we moved, we evaded, and then we sneak attacked the Wizard of the Order. So what do we do now? We can either bring out, so we've got a couple of choices. We could bring out another cultist, or we could, well, even if we brought, well, no, if we brought out a weapon, if it was a machete or something, we couldn't play it, even if we could. So, what do we do? Probably the best thing to do is to pay 2. Yeah, we're going to pay 2 clues. 2 clues. 1, 2, and we're going to bring out another cultist. So we'll shuffle them up. And who do we draw? We draw Wolfman Drew. Okay, so Wolfman Drew sits here in downtown. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. The problem is Wolfman Drew is fine if we've got a machete or a 45 or something on us, but without that, it's just going to take us forever to fight, or a backstab, or even a vicious blow. So we need something like that. If we're going to deal with Wolfman Drew without it taking forever, then we need that. So then what we need to do is maybe get ourselves another clue and try and... yeah, it's a pity we don't have a weapon. It's been very frustrating from that perspective. There are plenty of weapons in the deck. Okay, so we move into the enemy phase. The hunting Night Gaunt moves again. So we move into the upkeep phase and we get pickpocketing. All right, so we get pickpocketing. Fine, okay. So then we move into the Mythos phase, So there we go. There's the 6 Doom. It flips. So we now have our friend, who we're not really very well equipped to fight, our friend the Masked Hunter. He's 6 health. He's 4 fight. And because we have no weapon, it makes him quite difficult to deal with. Bugger. So just, one card can make all the difference here. So we'll put this agenda up here. Time is running short. The minutes pass quickly as your investigation continues. We have 8 turns left to essentially get things done. Okay, let's draw from the encounter deck and see what the encounter deck has for us. And the encounter deck has, there we go. Seems like it's done the job for us. Test 4. If you fail, take a damage and a horror and then disengage and move to... Oh dear. Well, maybe we should. Yeah, we will. Here we go. So let's just test straight up. 4 versus 4. Chaos Bag gives us a -3, so we fail. Which means we disengage from the hunter here. We move to a central location, so we move to Rivertown. Wow. But we do take a damage and a horror in the process, so we'll give Leo DeLuca the horror, and we will take another damage. I mean, it was a damage and a horror, but it was kind of worth it, because it's kind of gotten us out of the way, so we can... I mean, it's not that they won't keep coming for us, but it at least gives us a chance, a bit of breathing space to actually... do something else. So yeah, okay. So that's the end of the Mythos phase. So we move into our investigation phase. 4 actions onto Skids. So we don't want to be here obviously next time because the Masked Hunter will move here unless we start drawing cards and hoping we draw into a weapon. But we still don't want to be there and get whacked. And we definitely don't want to move up to East Town and then have the hunting Night Gaunt attack us as well. So we don't want all those things to happen all at the same time. So I'm thinking we probably want to try and get this clue. That's an easier clue than the Miskatonic University clues. So my first action will be to move to the south side again. We can't draw 3 cards. We've already done that. Yep. Second action will be to investigate. So it's a 3 and we are a 3. So if I spend 2 resources, 1, 2, we can make it a 6 versus a 3. Chaos Bag gives us a tablet, which is -3. Wow, okay, so that was good that we did that. That was right, wasn't it? Yeah, we spent 3. 6 versus 3. That was a good call. So we get the clue. So that was our second action. Our third action, we will spend the 2 clues. And we will bring out another cultist. Shuffle them up. Who do we get this time? We get Victoria Devereaux, who's at Northside. And what do we need to do? 5 resources for Victoria. Okay. So what do we do now? We've got another turn, so we've got a couple of choices here. Well, actually, I was just going to say we could use elusive and move up to there, but then that will cost us. So maybe we should just sit here, get another resource, and then, yeah, or do we draw a card? I think if we're going to get Victoria Devereaux, it's probably cards we need, but we also need a weapon. Because if we could get up to Victoria Devereaux, and we could also, then we could tackle Wolfman Drew, but we need a machete or a gun or something to do that. And also having having a couple of resources. Actually, it's probably resources at the moment that we need, because we can do things like elusive and things. So I'm going to put another resource. I'm going to take another resource as the final action. There we go. So there we go. So we we didn't do a lot in that go. We moved from Rivertown to Southside. That was our first action. We then spent. We then discovered a clue. We then brought out another cultist, and then we took a resource. So there we go. That's the end of our go. So in the enemy phase, the Mouse Hunter moves to Rivertown. The Hunting Night Gaunt moves across to Easttown. They're all following me. It's like Benny Hill style at the moment. And no, nothing else moves. So that's the end of the enemy phase. So we move into the upkeep phase, and we get a vicious blow. Well, that's great. It's just wish we had a weapon. So anyway, so we got vicious blow. So we move into the Mythos phase, the first Doom. We've got 7 turns left to go. We've got 1 victory point and only 1 cultist, so we really do need to get a couple more cultists, otherwise the next scenario is just going to be a nightmare. Let's see what the encounter deck has for us, and the encounter deck has, oh, not again. We don't want to fail this one. Test 4, if you fail, damage and horror and move to a central location. That's the last thing we want to do, so we don't want to fail this one. So we are a 4, so at the moment it's a 4 versus a 4. So is that, yeah, it's another one. So let's make that a 5 versus a 4. Yeah, we're going to do this. 5, 6, 7, 8 and 4, 5, 8 versus 4. So really just an auto fail. Chaos Bag gives us... The Chaos Bag work then? No, it didn't. Okay, Chaos Bag gives us a -2. So we succeed. Yeah, we didn't want to have that happen to us again. Okay, there we go. So we move into the investigation phase. We put 4 actions onto Skids. So what do we do here? Now we've got an elusive. So we could use the elusive. So we could hang here. No, because if we hang here, then the Mass Hunter will hit us, and we don't want that to happen. So let's think this through. To do this, disengage from each enemy engaged with you. So we need to be engaged with something and then move somewhere. So I think the most pragmatic thing to do, if we're going to, is to use 2 turns to get... it's not going to be enough, is it? Just don't have enough resources. Because what we could do is we could move to the Masked Hunter. We could then fast play. Does this give you resource? No, it's spend 5 resources. Gain 3 resources. So we need 5 resources for Victoria Devereaux, and we have 4 turns. So we could simply just move up to the north side. That would be 2 turns. But then we wouldn't have the 5 resources. Oh, this is frustrating. What do we do here? I'm sure you all have the solution for me. I mean, we just need the 5 resources, and we need to just get up there. But we don't want to take any damage in the process. So we could move 1. We could play elusive, but then we wouldn't have enough. We can move 2 to north side. We could evade Victoria. We could grab some resources. Yeah. If only we had a machete. I mean, the other thing is we could just try and draw into a weapon. The fact that we haven't had a weapon yet probably means there is a weapon there. But then we're just... and then we could, take on the Masked Hunter, I guess. Neither of them are ideal. So it really comes down to either we stay here, or we could move to St. Mary's Hospital, because then that would give us an extra time. Maybe that's the thing to do, because then it would maximize our choice, because then Masked Hunter could move down to South Side, and then we could get, that's the thing to do. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to move to St. Mary's Hospital, first action. Second action, we are going to, what are we going to do? Draw. Or we're just going to get a ton of resources. Now let's draw. Dynamite Blast. Fantastic. Except it costs a ton. So I might, that was my second action. And then I'm going to take 2 resources. So we've now got 5 resources. Okay. So, alright, so we've got Dynamite Blast, so we could always Dynamite Blast. That's not going to kill the Masked Hunter. It's not going to kill, well, it would kill Victoria Devereaux, but it would get us quite a way there. So hopefully we might draw into a weapon, but at the very least now we can move up to north side and get Victoria Devereaux next go. Oh, so that was a kind of a bit of a non-thing. We just moved into St. Mary's Hospital, we drew a card, and then we drew two resources. We should be set. That allows us to do what we need to do next time. So we move into the enemy phase. So the Masked Hunter moves down to south side. He's moving towards us. The Hunting Night Gaunt moves into Rivertown. Yep. So they're both moving relentlessly towards us. So we move into the upkeep phase and still no weapon, but we get guts. So I suppose if we get something like Crypt Chill, which I'd totally forgotten about somewhere. So therefore we move into the Mythos phase. There are 2 Doom. We'll see what the encounter deck has for us. And the encounter deck has, if you are no clues, this gains Surge. So we'll do it again. and we get locked door. Fine. Okay, put a locked door on here. Does it go here, or is it where there's the most clues? Attach the location with the most clues. Ah, okay. Well, that's going to be Miskatonic University, I think. It's got the most clues. Yep, so it goes here. Well, I wasn't planning on doing that anyway. Send to back. There we go. All right. Okay. So we move from there into our investigation phase again. 4 actions onto Skids. And we still don't have a weapon. So we've got a couple of choices here. They're really closing in on me, so I need to get away from them again. I could try and spend 4 goes getting a weapon, but the problem is if I then got a machete and then I had 2 on me, and I don't want that to happen. So I think it's pretty obvious what we do here. We spend an action and move up to Miskatonic University. We spend a second action and move up to Northside. Victoria Devereaux engages us, so we spend our third action and spend 5 resources. 2, 3, 4, 5, and she is in the victory display. So there we go. There's a second cultist done. So that was 1, 2, 3. So I think now we've got 1 action left. Do we draw a resource or do we draw a card? It would be great to get a weapon, because if we can get a machete, then we can probably kill Wolfman Drew relatively easily. So I might draw a card, and we get the 45. Okay, we don't have enough resources to fire it up, but that's all right. We can do that next time. So there we go. We've got a weapon. Okay, so that was a successful round. We moved up to Northside. We spent 5 resources, and now Victoria Devereaux is now in the victory display. So it was 1, 2, 3, and then we drew a card, and we got the 45 automatic. Brilliant. Okay, we will move into the enemy phase. So the Masked Hunter moves across to St. Mary's Hospital, then Hunting Night Gaunt moves across to Miskatonic University. Again, they're closing in. It's like Benny Hill. This is Midnight Mask Benny Hill style. Okay, and we move into the upkeep phase, and we get Opportunist. Okay, still no weapon, or a cheaper weapon anyway. And there is a backstab in there somewhere as well, which would be very nice to get. But anyway, that's what we get. So we move into the... Okay, we're running out of time. So I think my main aim is if we can at least get Wolfman Drew, at the very least, then at least we've gotten 3 cultists. We've got ourselves 4 victory points. That's pretty good. There is a clue here on North Downtown and East Town, so it is possible that there would be enough time to get another cultist out, I suppose, but we'll just have to see. I think it's probably unlikely, but we will see how we go. Okay, so that's the third on the Mythos phase. The encounter deck gives us, of course it does, Crypt Chill has arrived. It was only a matter of time. All right, so we are a 2. It is a 4. Well, we've got a guts here. So that makes us a 4 versus a 4. We can make it a 5 versus a 4. Do we use the dynamite? Don't think we're going to be able to. The dynamite costs 5. So I think I'm going to throw this in as well. So what have we got? We've got 2, 3, 4, 6 versus 4. That's pretty good. -2 or better. Chaos Bag gives us +1. So we draw a card as a consequence. We get a dodge. Oh, and also, did we succeed by 3 or more? Yes, we did. We did succeed by 3 or more because we were 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 versus 4. So we get this back. Wow. That normally doesn't happen. That's brilliant. Okay, so we got it back. All right, so we avoided Crypt Chill anyway. So no big deal. Okay, brilliant. So that was very successful. So we move into the investigation phase. We have 4 actions onto Skids. So what do we do here? So So he's a 4 fight. So if we have out the automatic, that would make us a 5 fight. We could make that a 6 fight. 7. So we can make it a 7 versus a 4. And if we succeeded, we would do 1, 2, 3 points of damage. But that wouldn't kill him. So if we take 2 actions to get 2 more resources, and then we bring out the 45 automatic, that will all take time, and then we're going to get monstered. So I think we need a little bit more time to set ourselves up with Wolfman. Plus, when he attacks, he heals damage, so we want to try and get him done in one go. So what I'm going to do is I am going to first of all move to downtown, so Wolfman engages with us. Hello. That's our first action. Our second action is to evade him. So he's a 2 and we are a 4. So we will make that a, yeah. So this is our second action, a 2 versus a 5. 2 versus a 5. So that's 3 up. Chaos Bag gives us a -1, so we succeed. Do we succeed by 3? 2 versus 5. No, we don't, so we lose that. But he's exhausted. Okay. Now, so we have a choice here. We could either take 2 resources so that we're ready to bring out the 45 automatic, or we could hit him, or we could try and hit him, but we're only a 3, so we're not going to get very far. So yes, I'm probably going to spend 2 more turns. You can't get resources here, can you? You can gain 3 resources. You were all screaming at me, weren't you? You were all screaming at me, gain 3 resources! Gain 3 resources! Okay, so our third action, we will gain 3 resources. Great. And our fourth action, we will bring out the 45 automatic. We'll move these here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, fantastic. Okay, so that actually worked out really, really, really well. So, so what did we do? We moved to Northside. We moved to downtown. We successfully evaded Wolfman Drew. We then used this once per lifetime gain resources from the Bank of Arkham. And then our fourth turn, we brought out the 45 automatic. So all things going well, we should be able to kill Wolfman Drew next time. Okay, let's move into the enemy phase. And so, yes, oh dear, the Hunting Night Gaunt moves up. The Masked Hunter moves up. Oh dear, they're back on the trail again. So we move into the upkeep phase and we go, oh, nice, perfect. We get an overpower. It was meant to be. So that's great. Okay, fantastic. And that was the upkeep phase. So we move into the Mythos phase. There are now 4 Doom on here. Time is running short. I think if we kill Wolfman Drew next time, I think that's going to be the end of the line, because I can't imagine we're going to have enough time to bring out, get the clues, bring out the next cultist, which is either going to be Peter Warren, who would be over at Miskatonic University, or it's going to be good old Herman in the graveyard. So maybe, let's wait and see. Let's work it out when we get to that point. But it's probably unlikely, because we'll probably have 3 turns to manage it. And I'm just not sure that I mean, Peter Warren might be possible that we could sort of use elusive, get to him, and then parley him, but we'll see how we go. All right. Let's see what the encounter deck has for us first in the encounter deck. Well, that changes things, doesn't it? So it's a good old acolyte. So let's put an acolyte here in East Town with a doom on him. Has to be in an empty location. So that's also that's increased that to 5 now. So that's an additional thing we would have to do. Wolfman Drew's back with us. Okay, so here we go. This is crunch time here. It's investigation phase. 4 actions onto Skids. Okay, so I think it's pretty clear what we need to do. We need to kill Wolfman Drew. So, first action is to shoot Wolfman Drew. So that gives us a 4 versus 4, but we're going to use the vicious blow, which gives us a 5 versus a 4. 7 versus 4. So that gives us a 7 versus a 4. Let me just check that again. 3, 4, 5, 7. 7 versus 4. -3 or better. Chaos Bag gives us a -1, so we succeed. So we do 3 points of damage to Wolfman Drew. These go into the discard pile, and we draw a card for overpower, and we get the Switchblade. Okay. Which is not helpful. Really. So that was kind of the easy bit. That was our first action. So our second action is to fight him again. So we are a 4. It's a 4 versus 4, and I don't think we don't have any. No. So we're just going to have to hope. We've got no other. I was hoping we might get another fight card, but anyway. So we shoot at him again. A 4 versus a 4. So we need 0 or better. Chaos Bag gives us an auto fail. Okay. Third action. Maybe we should evade him. Do we try and get him again, or do we try and evade him? 4 versus 2, and then try and draw into something. We've got a dodge, so we can always dodge, yeah, but we're going to take some damage either way. We've got 2 more tries, so we can either evade him, or we can just try. I think I'll just try again. Okay, so we'll try again. Chaos Bag gives us a -2. And we will try again. Chaos Bag gives us a tablet. If you fail, place 1. Oh, I don't. Okay, so we didn't manage to do. Oh, that's all of our. No, that was annoying. Ah, dear. Okay, didn't manage to do it. That's all right. So we move into the enemy phase. So now we have 2 on us here. We can spend 1 to. So we will spend 1 to dodge. Dodge Wolfman Drew, who heals 1 damage in the process. Oh dear. And we take 1 damage and 1 horror. Yes, that's really annoying. Okay. All right. So we move into the, the Mouse Hunter moves. We move into, and now we get the machete. Ah, boy. Okay. Okay. So we move into the, Mythos phase is now 5. 6 Doom. Chaos Bag gives us Obscuring Fog. Attach it to your location, so that's fine. Okay, send to the back. All right. So we have 4 actions. Now, obviously, we can resign if we need to as an action. I'm wondering whether. What to do here? If we can get the machete out, we can do 2 points. So maybe we try and evade these 2 and then get the machete out and hit Wolfmanger and kill him. The problem is, though, if that doesn't all work, then what's going to happen is the Masked Hunter's going to move in and we're going to take a ton of damage from everybody. We're going to take 3, 5. Yeah, we're going to be dead. The other alternative would be to use Elusive, move to East Town, kill the Acolyte. So we could fast play Elusive. Then we could kill the Acolyte and get the clue, but we're still only 1 clue. We're still short. And then we could move. And then we could then move to Miskatonic University and get another clue and hope we get Peter Warren. Would be the other alternative. So that would be 1 go to do that and get to here. So that would be 6. Then 7, we could get the clue. And then hope that it's Peter Warren we draw and not Herman. Because otherwise then we've got to try and get back into the graveyard. But we've got just enough. No, we don't have enough resources to play Machete anyway. Just realised we need 3 resources and we've only got 2. So we would have to evade. No, we couldn't do it. No, that's not going to work. So if we're going to do anything, it's going to be a Peter Warren play, because we could do a. So what I'm going to try this. I mean, it's not not much to lose. So we spend 2. We play Elusive. Disengage from each area and move to another revealed location. So we move here. So disengage from these 2 enemies. And that was a fast play. So then our first action here is to fight the Acolyte. So he's a fight of. So the first action is he's a fight of 3. We can make that a fight of 4. I'm just throwing things away now. So 4 versus 3. Chaos Bag gives us 0, so we kill the Acolyte. Second action is to investigate, so it's 2 versus a 3. So 2 versus 3. And we don't have any resources to add to that, so let's see how we go. Chaos Bag gives us an Elder Sign. So we get the clue, and we get 2 resources as a consequence. That was fantastic. Okay. So far, so good. So now we just need to get another clue. So we will spend an action to get to Rivertown. And we've got one action left. Do we take another resource? Or do we draw a card? I'm worried we're going to draw our hospital debts at this rate. I think we take a resource. Okay. So that's the end of our turn. So we managed to avoid getting monstered. Unfortunately, we didn't manage to kill Wolfman Drew. That was really frustrating. But that's all right. We're still alive. We're still going. We'll see how we go. So we move into the investigation phase. So Night Gaunt moves... so we moved into investigation phase. Move into the enemy phase. The Masked Hunter moves here. The Hunting Night Gaunt moves here. Geez, it'd be good to get a backstab. Maybe we could get rid of the Masked Hunter, although he's a 6, so probably not. So then we move into the upkeep phase. We get 2 flashlights. I think it's trying to tell us something here. So we move into the Mythos phase. We're in Go 6. The encounter deck gives us, oh boy, place 2 doom on the nearest cultist enemy. Alright, there is now 2 doom on the Masked Hunter. Which means it will flip. We have 1 go. I don't think this is possible now. Ah dear, this scenario can so easily spin out of control. So fast. Anyway. So yep. There we go. So we move into our investigation phase. We've got 4 actions. So, what can we realistically do here? We can't realistically kill the Masked Hunter, but we could move into the Miskatonic University area. That would be 1 action. Second action is we could evade the Masked Hunter. Third action is we could bring out the flashlight. Fourth action, we could get another clue. But the problem is this is going to skip over, so I don't think there's anything we can do. I don't think we can do any more. So I think the best thing to do at this stage is to resign in turn 13. So there we go. That's what we will do. We will resign in turn 13 and move on. So things didn't go as well as would have hoped for Skids. A bit of unfortunate that none of the weapons came out, and they were all at the bottom of the... So there's another weapon. There's another weapon. So we didn't get any of the weapons until... So there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weapons in the bottom few part of the deck. So... which was really unfortunate because it really limited our ability to take on the fighting cultists. If you can get those weapons set up relatively early, you can do that relatively easily. Unfortunately, we didn't manage to kill Wolfman Drew. We came close, but it wasn't good enough. But anyway, that's the way that it goes. We managed to get 3 victory points all up. We managed to eliminate 2 cultists in the process. So that's better than Daisy, but perhaps not quite as effective as what Roland was able to do. There we go. So thank you very much for watching. I'm sure people will have some points of view about how I could have maybe managed things a little bit differently, and I always appreciate the feedback. I think with Midnight Masks, it's always a challenge because there are so many different ways you can do things. I did take on board, though, that I wasn't using the activated actions that are on quite a few of the cards, and I did that this time to help things out. So thank you very much for watching. If you want to see where Skids is in the league table after this, it will be up after this video. So next time, Wendy Adams will be taking on the Midnight Masks, and we will see how she goes. Until then, I'm Krabby Terror 8. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.